The monitoring sphere at the heart of the Galactic Stellar Parliament's Grand Chamber shattered into 1,000,000 luminescent fragments, each shard representing data from a now-silent probe. The crowd of representatives, some gaseous, some crystalline, some defying categorization entirely, recoiled in unified shock. Impossible. The word rippled through the chamber in 100 different languages, each expression of disbelief translated instantly by neural implants. Ambassador Tukrel of the Aelori race, his iridescent exoskeleton reflecting the chamber's azure lighting, slammed his crystalline appendage against the ancient parliament floor. The sound reverberated like a death knell, silencing even the most vocal representatives. "The monitoring station in Sol system has been completely obliterated," he announced, his voice modulator struggling to maintain composure. "Not damaged, not disabled. Atomized by technology we cannot even classify." The sophisticated data sphere reconstituted itself, now displaying footage captured moments before the probe's destruction. Representatives watched as an unremarkable blue-green planet came into view. Earth, a primitive backwater world the Parliament had categorized as pre-spacefaring and placed under routine observation 2 centuries earlier. "Observe," Tukrel commanded, his lower appendages trembling slightly. This should not be possible. The sphere magnified on Earth's moon, a barren, cratered satellite that Parliament records indicated was uninhabited. As the view shifted to the far side, gasps echoed throughout the chamber. There, concealed from Earth-based observation, sprawled a massive launch facility unlike anything in Parliament records. Sleek vessels with impossible configurations, hulls that seemed to bend light rather than reflect it, rose silently from the lunar surface. "They've hidden their advancement," whispered High Counselors of the Vrol Collective, their voice sac pulsating with distress. "The humans have been deliberately concealing their technological progress." "Not just concealing," corrected Intelligence Director Naxforo, her tentacles manipulating complex holographic controls, accelerating beyond all established models of technological development. Fresh data cascaded through the chamber, intercepted communications, energy readings, trajectory analyses. The humans had somehow compressed a 5-millennium technological advancement curve into mere decades, mastering fusion propulsion, gravitational manipulation, and quantum communications in absolute secrecy. "This defies every evolutionary principle we've established," said senior scientist Ithkal, his exoskeleton clicking nervously. "Species follow predictable advancement patterns. No civilization bypasses the quantum threshold without triggering collapse. It's happened 17 times in our recorded history. The humans didn't bypass it," Tukrel replied, his voice unnaturally quiet. "They've done something worse. They've solved it." The chamber fell silent as the sphere displayed one final image. Earth's first interstellar fleet, 12 vessels of varying configurations, emerging from concealed positions behind their moon, forming a perfect defensive pattern that Parliament military advisors recognized as both elegant and lethal. Most disturbing of all, the Intelligence Division's translation of intercepted human communications revealed the unthinkable. The final data packet displayed text that sent shivers through even the most stoic representatives. "Operation Sci-Fi Vindication is go. Parliament observation confirmed. First contact protocols initiated. Let's show them what humanity can do." "They know," Tukrel said, his voice barely audible. "They've known about us all along." As the Parliament erupted into chaos, ancient procedural codes flashing emergency warnings across all neural networks, a simple message appeared in the data sphere, transmitted directly to the Parliament's supposedly impenetrable communication system. "Greetings from Earth. We come in peace. Your move." Grand Negotiator Xanvos surveyed his reflection in the living metal of his quarters aboard the Celestial Harmony, the Parliament's most ornate diplomatic vessel. His 74 successful first contacts were memorialized in the ceremonial markings etched across his carapace, each one representing a species successfully integrated into the galactic hierarchy. The humans must be approached with extreme caution. He instructed his diverse team of diplomatic specialists. Their development pattern defies categorization. The celestial harmony itself was a marvel of bioengineered crystal and sentient metals, designed to awe primitive species into proper submission. Its very architecture communicated the Parliament's power and ancient wisdom. As they approached the designated meeting point near the Kuiper Belt, Xanvos meticulously reviewed the first contact protocols, a sequence of precisely calibrated greetings, frequencies, and ceremonial pauses tested and refined across 1,000 worlds. "We will guide them into civilization," he assured his nervous team, like children learning to walk. When the human fleet appeared, it was nothing like the Parliament's intelligence had suggested. Instead of 12 vessels, 27 ships of varying configurations decelerated into perfect formation, their hulls absorbing rather than reflecting light, making them appear as voids against the stars. The catastrophe began immediately. The humans ignored the sacred greeting frequencies, broadcasting simultaneously on all channels with a casual, "Hello there, we've been looking forward to meeting you," that violated 16 different diplomatic taboos. When the ships finally docked and the human delegation entered the Harmony's grand reception chamber, Xanvos felt his carefully constructed reality crumbling. The humans wore no ceremonial attire, dressed instead in practical uniforms with name badges. Worse, they spoke directly to junior diplomatic staff, ignoring proper hierarchical protocols. "We've been studying your parliament for decades," said their lead diplomat, Commander Elena Vasquez, while casually examining a sacred neural translator as if it were a curiosity. "Fascinating structure, though rather rigid for our taste. We prefer more adaptable systems." During the formal welcoming ceremony, the humans committed the unthinkable. They interrupted the grand negotiator's recitation of cosmic hierarchies with questions. "So basically, you've divided species into tiers based on technological advancement?" asked one human scientist, scratching his head. "That seems arbitrary. What about cultural achievements, ethical development, arts?" Tension peaked when a nervous Drellid gunner, stationed discreetly in the chamber's upper tier, misinterpreted a human's sudden gesture as threatening and fired a calibrated warning shot that should have temporarily paralyzed the delegate. What followed became legendary in Parliament records. The human vessels executed a coordinated sequence of maneuvers that military analysts would later describe as mathematically beautiful. Their weapons, previously undetected by Parliament scanners, surgically disabled the Harmony's propulsion and defensive systems without a single casualty. Hours later, human engineers in improvised spacesuits boarded the crippled vessel. But rather than conquer, they offered repairs, while pointing out design improvements to what they called the Parliament's lovely but outdated systems. "Your quantum stabilizers are impressive," noted a young human engineer to a mortified Parliament technician, "but have you considered phase-shifting the containment field? Reduces energy consumption by 80%. As they departed, Commander Vasquez transmitted a message that would haunt the Parliament for years. "We come as equals, not subjects. Your rules were made without us. We'll make our own path among the stars." In the silent diplomatic chamber afterwards, Grand Negotiator Xanvos, for the first time in his illustrious career, removed his ceremonial regalia and stared into the void. "They don't want to join our civilization," he whispered to his shaken staff. "They want to change it." "Impossible." Chief Science Archon Zith's screech reverberated through the Parliament's classified analysis chamber, his multifaceted eyes flashing with colors that indicated extreme distress in his species. The holographic model of a human propulsion system he'd been examining shattered as he hurled it across the room. The finest minds from 127 civilizations had gathered in unprecedented cooperation, their usual academic rivalries temporarily suspended by a greater concern. For 6 straight cycles, they had dissected intercepted human technology with growing bewilderment. "The components make perfect sense individually," muttered Senior Analyst Pelnorev, her crystalline digits manipulating a floating diagram. But these combinations, they integrate systems our models predicted would catastrophically interfere with each other. In the center of the chamber, a partially reconstructed human communication device rotated slowly. 3 different Parliament engineering teams had certified it couldn't possibly function, yet footage clearly showed humans using identical devices effortlessly. Their mathematics diverges from galactic standards at a fundamental level, observed the ancient Thelid mathematician Orcs. They used 20 different incompatible branches of quantum theory simultaneously, and somehow, it works. A young Krith synapsychologist named Eli Toth stood quietly at the back of the chamber, watching the established authorities struggle. Her career already risked on a radical theory, she hesitated before speaking. Perhaps, she finally ventured, her voice barely audible, "We're asking the wrong questions." The chamber fell silent as every alien consciousness turned toward her. "Explain," commanded Zizuf. "With permission, I've been analyzing human information networks," she said, activating her own holographic display. "What we're seeing isn't just technological divergence but cognitive divergence." Her display showed thousands of competing human technological designs for the same function, wildly different approaches to solving identical problems. "Inefficient," sniffed Orcs. "Wasteful." "Or evolutionary," countered Eli Toth. "They advance through chaotic competition rather than ordered consensus." "Look here." She expanded a section showing historical human technological development curves. When they encounter obstacles, they don't form consensus committees like we do. They spawn thousands of competing solutions simultaneously. The assembled scientists watched in growing horror as she displayed footage from a human children's science competition. Young humans, barely into their developmental stage, casually solved engineering problems that had stumped Parliament think tanks for decades. "Most concerning," continued Eli Toth, "is this." She displayed intercepted entertainment broadcasts. They call it fiction. They mentally simulate alternative realities for pleasure. "Madness," whispered a role neurologist. "Innovation as recreation," corrected Eli Toth. "Every human constantly imagines how things could be different. Their entertainment trains them to innovate from childhood." The final piece of evidence silenced even the skeptics. Eli Toth displayed a human information network called Internet, where Parliament monitoring data had been accessed, published, and analyzed, not by human military, but by civilian hobbyists who reverse-engineered alien technology as a hobby. "What's your conclusion?" asked Ziv, his plumage now drooping in what his species recognized as existential dread. "The humans become more innovative when challenged," replied Eli Toth. "Any attempt to constrain them will likely trigger accelerated advancement." She paused before delivering the final blow. "And based on their entertainment narratives, they'd been psychologically preparing to meet aliens for centuries, specifically preparing for resistance." The implications settled over the chamber like a shroud. "They've been waiting for us," whispered Orcs. "While we've been observing them, they've been rehearsing for us." "Update the stellar charts again," sighed Senior Administrator Veltath, her luminescent appendages dimming with fatigue. "Third time this cycle." The Parliament's meticulously maintained navigation database, stable for centuries, had become a constantly shifting puzzle as human outposts materialized across supposedly restricted systems with alarming frequency. On the massive holographic display dominating the Monitoring Council chamber, red markers indicating human activity multiplied like a viral infection spreading across the galactic arm. Hundreds of specialized analysts from dozens of species worked frantically to track the expansion. "They don't colonize like normal species," reported field observer Tikva, recently returned from a covert mission to the human outpost at Alpha Centauri. His exoskeleton still bore radiation burns from the close approach. "Where we spend decades terraforming planets to match our homeworlds, they transform themselves instead." The display shifted to show surveillance footage from the methane ice deserts of Ta City, where 3 previous Parliament expeditions had perished in the lethal environment. A thriving human mining operation sprawled across the frozen wasteland, its inhabitants genetically modified with enhanced lung capacity and thermal regulation. They've modified their colonists for high gravity, thin atmospheres, and extreme temperatures, continued Antikva. Different humans for different worlds. They consider it an honor to be adapted. More disturbing still were the interactions observers had recorded between humans and the lesser species the Parliament had carefully regulated for millennia. The display shifted to show the primitive krill. Masterful bioengineers kept technologically primitive by Parliament decree to prevent dangerous genetic experimentation. The humans are trading with them, whispered Council Elder Voftan in disbelief, offering computing technology in exchange for cellular engineering secrets. The results are concerning, added Chief Intelligence Analyst Zixi Moore, displaying intercepted schematics of hybrid technologies that merged krill bioengineering with human computational methods. These designs outperform both original technologies. In the main Parliament chamber, the first fractures in 10,000 years of unity were becoming visible. The progressive Delani openly praised human innovations in medical technology, while the ancient Vorthax demanded immediate military quarantine to prevent cognitive contamination. 7 council races already maintain secret diplomatic channels with Earth, reported Zixi Moore, her voice modulator pitched low to prevent eavesdropping, including 3 founding members. The historic quarantine vote that followed shattered millennia of decorum. For the first time in recorded Parliament history, the chamber erupted in physical altercations as the motion failed by a mere 3 votes. Elder Voftan was physically removed after attempting to alter the voting record, a sacrilege unimaginable before the human crisis. Meanwhile, on the fringes of Parliament space, encrypted monitoring stations captured human entertainment broadcasts carelessly transmitted across all frequencies. The content analysis team reported with growing alarm that human dramas depicting individual freedom, personal choice, and resistance against rigid authority were triggering unprecedented responses among regulated populations. On 12 Parliament-administered worlds, subject species have begun incorporating human phrases into their communication, warned Cultural Containment Director Ive Mora. 3 have removed Parliament monuments. They're chanting human entertainment slogans during the demonstrations. They aren't just expanding physically, Elder Voftan said grimly as he reviewed the reports. Their ideas are the true contagion. As if in answer, the Parliament's supposedly unhackable emergency broadcast system suddenly activated, projecting a simple message across every government facility in controlled space. The galaxy belongs to all who reach for it. Join us. Supreme Commander Vex Heroth of the Praxi Dominion stood motionless before the ancient war altar, his exoskeleton's integrated computational systems running battle simulations at speeds that would overheat lesser species' neural networks. The Praxi, whose biomechanical bodies contained computing clusters more advanced than most civilizations' planetary systems, had avoided direct warfare for 3 centuries. That era of peace was about to end. The humans must be taught humility, Vex Heroth declared, his voice modulated to the precise frequency that triggered ancestral battle programming in all Praxi warriors present. The Parliament debates while barbarians remake galactic order. His primary manipulator activated crystalline control nodes embedded in the sacred altar. Throughout Praxi space, long-dormant protocols awakened, summoning the dreaded extinction fleet, thousands of crystalline warships, each containing the preserved consciousness of a fallen Praxi warrior, vessels that had subjugated 17 worlds before the Parliament's formation. Our ancestors watch, intoned high tactician Zex Krell, his secondary appendages arranging holographic battle plans. The lesser species must witness proper hierarchy restored. The target, humanity's modest colony at Epsilon Eridani, deliberately chosen for its limited defenses and strategic insignificance. The message would be unmistakable: retreat to your home system or face extinction. The Parliament, paralyzed by endless debate about the human situation, could only watch as Praxi diplomatic representatives formally recused themselves from emergency sessions, citing independent security concerns. The move technically complied with ancient treaties while allowing unilateral action. 3 standard cycles later, the ambush began. Praxi quantum destroyers materialized around the human colony, their phase-shifted weapons primed. A display of overwhelming force designed to force immediate surrender. Then everything went catastrophically wrong. The human defenders responded with technologies that seemed specifically calibrated to Praxi weaknesses. Frequency-shifting shields neutralized the phase cannons that had terrorized a dozen species. Targeting systems anticipated Praxi battle algorithms with uncanny precision, as if they had been tested against Praxi tactics for years. "They know our protocols," gasped Junior Commander Kexvoth, witnessing half his squadron's ships disabled in the opening exchange. How is this possible? Most disturbing of all, human communication scramblers somehow broadcast directly into the hive consciousness, linking the Praxi fleet, creating cascading logic errors that left veteran commanders fighting their own battle protocols. "They've been studying us," observed Parliament Intelligence Director Naxforo, watching the disaster unfold from a cloaked observation vessel. "Not just our technology, our thought patterns." As Praxi losses mounted, desperate commanders deployed forbidden planet killer weapons, massive singularity generators that would collapse the human colony into a microscopic black hole. The Parliament observation team prepared to withdraw, their non-interference protocols preventing intervention even to prevent planetary destruction. The observers never left. Human vessels intercepted the singularity warheads using gravitational manipulation technology, the Parliament believed theoretical, containing and neutralizing weapons designed to destroy worlds. The surviving Praxi ships retreated in disarray, nearly half their irreplaceable vessels lost or crippled. Supreme Commander Vex Heroth, watching from the command nexus, experienced the Praxi equivalent of shock, his systems temporarily unable to process the mathematical impossibility of defeat. Within days, footage of the battle, somehow transmitted by humans despite Parliament communication controls, reached every corner of the galaxy. On 12 subjugated worlds, oppressed species tore down Parliament monuments while chanting human battle cries. The Krill, emboldened by human success, openly refused resource quotas for the first time in 8,000 years. "They didn't just defeat the Praxi," whispered an ashen Naxforo to the emergency Parliament session. "They've proven the undefeatable can be defeated." Deep beneath the Parliament's central world, in chambers unused for millennia, 13 of the eldest species gathered in unprecedented secrecy. The ancient meeting hall, carved from living crystal that resonated with their thoughts, had last been used during the Vox Rebellion, 8,000 years earlier. The mood was funereal. Representatives sat in silence, their varied physiologies united in postures that conveyed the same emotion across species boundaries: existential dread. Then ancient Archonvels of the Myth Collective stirred. His withered form, supported by a complex life support pod, had been motionless for so long that several representatives assumed he had entered hibernation. The myth had achieved spaceflight when humans were still discovering fire. "We have committed," his voice resonated through neural pathways rather than air, the ultimate error of the ancient. All attention focused on him. When the eldest spoke, even species that had ruled 1,000 systems listened. "We believed," he continued, trembling appendages activating holographic controls embedded in his support pod, that wisdom and age were synonymous. The chamber's central display activated, showing human history compressed into a visual timeline. Their chaotic, often violent rise contrasted with the careful, measured expansion of Parliament species. "Their strength," continued Vels, "is not technology but methodology." The assembled elders watched in disbelief as the display showed human children in classrooms, openly challenging their teachers, receiving praise rather than correction for questioning authority. In human corporations, employees were rewarded for spectacular failures labeled learning experiences. Most shocking, Human governments transitioned peacefully between opposing factions without civilization collapse, a concept so alien that several representatives required neural translation clarification. What they call democracy and free markets. Explained Philid sociobiologist Val Carr, herself visibly transformed by her study of human concepts, are evolutionary algorithms applied to governance and resource distribution. Madness, whispered Elder Gorvex of the Yuntai, his crystalline form refracting light in patterns indicating extreme distress. Chaos. Adaptation, corrected Archenvels. They have made change itself their constant. The evidence mounted. Human innovation hubs were status derived from ideas rather than age or caste. Educational systems designed to challenge established concepts rather than preserve them. Cultural celebrations of iconoclasts who disrupted existing patterns. This cannot be permitted, insisted Gorvex, rising abruptly. Our civilizations require stability, structure, hierarchy. And yet they defeat our greatest military, countered pragmatic Orcs ambassador Zictol, her calculations already adapting to incorporate human variables. Perhaps limited adoption. Blasphemy. Gorvex stormed toward the exit, several ideologically aligned representatives following. Study the intercepted transmissions, called Archenvels as the chamber divided. The humans anticipated this very reaction. The remaining representatives reviewed the final intelligence report with growing concern. Human diplomatic vessels were already approaching key parliament worlds, each carrying proposals specifically tailored to that species' needs and cultural frameworks. Most disturbing, according to psychological analysis, the humans exhibited genuine excitement about the encounter. They're not approaching us as conquered or conquerors, concluded Volkar, with something approaching wonder, but as something no parliament species has ever truly experienced. What? Asked Zictol. Equals, answered Archenvels. They wish to learn from us as we learn from them. A mutual exchange. The concept was so foreign that neural translators struggled to convey it accurately to several species present. In the chamber's silence, representatives confronted a question none had anticipated. What if the humans weren't a threat to civilization, but its next evolution? The majestic Parliament Hall, its crystalline architecture unchanged for 7,000 years, had never witnessed such chaos. Representatives from 300 species crowded the chamber, their ceremonial restraint abandoned as factions formed and dissolved in real time, a living illustration of the very disorder they once despised. Ambassador Tukrel of the Aelori, whose warnings about humans had been ignored, approached the ancient speaking stone at the chamber center. Once humanity's fiercest critic, his recent diplomatic mission to Earth had transformed him in ways that disturbed his colleagues. I request activation of the ancestral witness, he announced, invoking a privilege used only 3 times in Parliament history. The chamber fell silent as Tukrel placed his primary sensory cluster against the stone. The vast displays surrounding the chamber activated, projecting not just images but emotional resonances, his direct experiences on Earth transmitted to every representative present. The assembled delegates gasped collectively as they experienced human children freely questioning elders, receiving praise rather than correction. They witnessed authority earned through achievement rather than age, celebrations honoring spectacular failures that led to breakthroughs. Most disturbing of all, they felt Tukrel's own transformation, his rigid certainty giving way to something the Parliament species had been engineered to avoid: doubt. For 10 millennia, Tukrel's voice echoed through the chamber as the transmission ended. We have moved forward by looking backward. The displays shifted to reveal classified research compiled by the division, studying human methodologies. Parliament member races experimenting with human collaborative models showed technological advancement rates 300% above historical norms, while those maintaining traditional hierarchies experience stagnation or decline. Correlation is not causation, shouted Elder Gorvex of the Yuntai, his crystalline form pulsating with patterns indicating extreme agitation. These primitive methods will lead to chaos. The chamber erupted as tradition-bound representatives clashed with reformers. Multi-limbed Palaxians gestured frantically at gaseous Vrol collectives. Ancient enemies like the silicon-based Threx and carbon-based Meridians found themselves unexpectedly allied in supporting adaptation. Above the chaos, a new voice cut through, amplified not by technology, but by the sudden attention of all present. We don't seek to replace your wisdom with our chaos. The human ambassador, Catherine Chen, Earth's first official representative to the Parliament, stood at the chamber entrance, violating countless protocols by her unsanctioned presence. More shocking still, she activated her own holographic display, projecting a detailed proposal for a hybrid governance model. 10,000 years of Parliament wisdom combined with human adaptability. She continued in the stunned silence. Not replacement, but evolution. As evidence mounted that adaptation meant survival, the unthinkable happened. After 3 months of around-the-clock negotiation, itself a human concept, as Parliament deliberations normally lasted decades, the ancient charter faced its first major revision. The signing ceremony, broadcast across all Parliament worlds, showed humans and aliens embracing a shared future. But as the final signatories completed the document, the chamber's security fields suddenly collapsed. Praxi warships dramatically decloaked above the Parliament world, beaming down their supreme commander Vex Heroth, who strode into the chamber flanked by warriors. He approached the newly signed charter and, in a gesture transmitted to trillions of beings across the galaxy, tore his formal treaty garments in the ancient gesture of secession. "We will preserve the true way," he declared, as dozens of traditionally minded species representatives rose to join him. Through fire if necessary. The massive viewing gallery of the newly christened Galactic Cooperative Headquarters teamed with representatives from 200 species. Parliament veterans alongside recently uplifted races granted equality under the new charter. All eyes focused on the celestial display outside, a fleet unlike any previously conceived. 5 years after first contact, the reformed cooperative celebrated its first truly collaborative achievement. Each vessel in the unprecedented expedition force represented a symphony of technologies from dozens of civilizations. Alori navigation systems interfaced with Krith bioreactors, powered by human-inspired fusion cores, housed in Vrol-designed quantum matrices. At the expedition's heart, the revolutionary human Alori hybrid ship Convergence prepared to lead the first journey beyond the galactic barrier. A mission deemed suicidal under old Parliament protocols. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the command deck beside Arkanvels, their unlikely friendship symbolizing the transformed order. The ancient myth had abandoned his life support pod, his cellular structure rejuvenated by human medical techniques combined with krill bioengineering. "Remember when you called us dangerous primitives?" Chen teased, adjusting the neural interface connecting her consciousness directly to the ship's systems, a modification that had horrified traditionalists but proven remarkably effective. "We were both right and wrong," the ancient being acknowledged, his tentacles gently manipulating ceremonial launch controls. "You were dangerous to complacency, not civilization." On the primary communication channel, representatives from every cooperative species contributed farewell messages, a chaotic, beautiful cacophony of languages and perspectives, unimaginable under the old regime. The ceremony, broadcast across all civilized space, represented more than a scientific expedition. It symbolized a fundamental transformation in galactic society. As the countdown commenced, long-range sensors detected massive Purist Concordat fleet movements along the Cygnus border. The ultimatum from Supreme Commander Vex Heroth demanded the cooperative return to proper hierarchy or face military action, transmitted across all frequencies with the clear intention of disrupting the historic launch. The gathered dignitaries grew silent, expecting emergency protocols and battle preparations. Instead, Captain Chen activated a surprising response, an open invitation to purist scientists to join the expedition, with full access to all discoveries. "Expansion and peace aren't contradictory," she broadcast. just as tradition and innovation can strengthen each other. The diplomatic gambit sent shockwaves through both alliances. Archenvelze's neural patterns registered surprise tinged with admiration, a response impossible for his species before exposure to human emotional frameworks. As the exploration fleet engaged its revolutionary drives, combining human theoretical insights with Parliament engineering precision, something extraordinary happened. 3 purist vessels broke formation, defying direct commands from their hierarchical command structure. The renegade ships, including a Praxi science vessel, maneuvered alongside the expedition fleet, their commanders choosing discovery over dogma. The galaxy watched as the combined ships vanished beyond the barrier, carrying the radical idea that differences might be not just tolerated but celebrated, a concept no Parliament species could have conceived before humanity's arrival. The Parliament that once trembled at human advancement now evolved because of it, creating something greater than either humans or the ancient races could have achieved alone. And beyond the known galaxy, new frontiers awaited, not just of space, but of possibility.